It sounds like a weird question, right? Why would a channel like mine that basically only talks about video games be asking the question, why should you care about video games? I mean, for most outsiders, it's just a silly time waster that doesn't really do anything productive for you and is only seen as a profitable career if you make content online. So by that logic, why should you care about video games if there's other things you can pursue in life that will make you more money? Why should you care about a red plumber fighting a giant turtle monster to save a princess? Why should you care about a twink changing a society of corrupt adults by answering their cognition and literally stealing their hearts in hope of change? Why should you care about why I think Hades should have been Game of the Year or why I think Mario 64 is the worst 3D Mario game? Why should you care about the videos I make about video games? Why should you care about me? I don't know if I can ever convince you to care about any of those things, but what if I rephrase the question? Why should you care about the things I care about? Well, what do you care about then, Mr. Deventurous? Well, I'll tell you what I care about. I care about art, and more specifically, video games as an art form. Well, then that begs the question, why should you care about art? I know some people would never in their life ever classify video games as art, but if you do a quick look at the definition of art on Google, it says, the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. But I mean, if you want to go by the second definition reads, the various branches of creative activity such as painting, music, literature, and dance. If you want to go by those definitions, then I would definitely say that video games qualify as an art form. Those of us on planet Earth who don't play video games or didn't grow up playing them can't fully understand this, but video games absolutely hold the same amount of potential to impact lives the same way movies, music, paintings, or any other art form have the ability to do as well. Ever since their inception, video games have always been scrutinized for making children dumber, rotting their brains, or just being a distraction to what's really important in life. Even though science has literally shown that playing certain types of video games can actually help brain capacity, memory, and is generally good for keeping the brain active, of course, everything good should be kept in healthy dosages because it can be harmful once addiction comes into the picture. Regardless of any of that, I think playing video games can teach you good lessons and could potentially teach you things about yourself as a person, or even teach you skills that can be useful in everyday life too. The capability that video games have as a platform for telling stories is unlike any other because you have direct input into what's happening on screen and are physically involved in moving the game forward. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that video games are a superior art form to any other type of art either. It's just unique because it's one of the few that you are directly involved in and you get to experience and really feel everything the developers wanted you to feel firsthand. And that's what the best pieces of art do, make you feel something, invoke any kind of thought, emotion, and hopefully make you experience something you've never experienced before. In my eyes, Legend of Zelda is just as much a piece of art as the Starry Night or even the Mona Lisa because they both have one thing in common. Both are products of an artist or even multiple artists' unique vision and willingness to do something that they were passionate about. Playboy Cardi's Whole Lotta Red can be perceived just as much of a piece of art as Nas's Illmatic, although I certainly don't think this way. But that's the thing about art, we as human beings are flawed, so naturally everything we create will also be imperfect, which is why the nature of art itself is subjective. There's no objective way to look at a different piece of art and come to the conclusion that one is objectively better than the other because every individual can see and absorb pieces of art in different ways. Just because I think that Persona 5 Royal is an infinitely better video game than Pokemon Sword and Shield, along with many other people who also hold that opinion, that doesn't mean that that opinion is objectively right either. I just simply got more out of one piece of art than I did the other. Now, of course, there's always very popular opinions about certain pieces of art being better than others, but if you look closely enough, you'll see other people being just as passionate as the people holding the popular opinion as to why they love that one thing so much. That, to me, is the beauty of art as a whole. Regardless of what can be perceived as good or bad is irrelevant because regardless of any pieces of art reception, it has the ability to bring people together in a way we rarely see in the outside world anymore. I think the best pieces of art reflect on the human experience, which in and of itself is imperfect, and to me that's oddly comforting. The best artists recognize that they may never create anything truly perfect, and the best pieces of art embrace the flaws of humanity, embrace the perfection that we as a species are born with, and that's why art has the ability to bring people together in a way nothing else can. Why should you care about video games? Should you care because countless people poured an unfathomable amount of time, energy, love, and care into the things that they created? Or should you care because other people care? If you ask me, I think that's more than reason enough. So for those of you who are my subscribers or just frequent watchers of this channel, you may have noticed that this video was kind of different in terms of subject matter, and truth be told, I wrote this script when I was having a bit of a low moment mentally. I know the script might have felt like a bit messy, but honestly it was what I was thinking at the time, and it was, you know, just me being fully honest with what I care about. I was feeling like no matter how hard I worked or how hard I tried, it was never enough, and it just felt like I was behind despite my efforts. It's a draining feeling like despite me giving almost every waking thought I have to making the best YouTube content I can, that the things I'm doing just aren't enough. Now, for the average YouTuber, these types of thoughts are basically inevitable at some point, but while I was having these thoughts, I realized something. The effort I put into this channel, even if it's not getting the growth I may want, or even if it's not making me any money, it doesn't mean that my efforts are being wasted, because at the end of the day, this is what I'm passionate about more than anything else. Hell, even if I try to go do other things, I don't think I could do it for very long, because I would miss making content way too much. I don't want to live a life where I didn't try my best to put my creative input into the world out there. I love it too much. There was a moment where I realized my brain is just simply too wired to be a content creator, and I love it way too much to give it up. A moment where my loneliness finally caught up with me. It's weird because my passion fuels my creativity, and the effort I put into being creative is what also drives my loneliness. I always work as hard as I can to steer my loneliness away from catching up with me, and sometimes it just doesn't work, and that's okay. In that moment where I felt like my efforts were being wasted and where my loneliness felt like it caught up with me, I began thinking about why I do this, my passion for sharing and talking about the things I love, why I care about art as much as I do. So I share my creations in hopes of making other people feel the same way other artists and other content creators have made me feel, and hopefully in the process make them less lonely in this world, or make them feel less lonely knowing that there's other people out there who share the same passions as you is very comforting, and I hope I bring that out with the things I make, or at the very least entertaining you enough to make you forget about the stress of real life for a few minutes. And hopefully I can convince some people to care about the things I care about just as much as I do. For example, video games.